This is AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV SuperFriends. For November 7th, 2025, it's the best sounding and most cross-discipline collaborative podcast in higher ed. This is the AV SuperFriends Off the Rails episode number 126.
There's no discipline here.
Cross-discipline. Broadcasting live from high atop the temporary scaffolding of your campus's Multi-Phase Learning Innovation Center, and next to that fenced-off mud pit formerly known as Parking Lot 17, we're bringing you the latest in higher ed technology, instructional spaces, and the mysterious timeline of that capital project that was definitely going to break ground last summer. So grab your hard hat, grab your safety vest, and your unapproved change order, because it's time for another Friday afternoon podcast adventure with the AV SuperFriends.
Hello.
And let's say hello to our panel. You can't say hello
I said it. I beat you to it.
Let's say hello to our panel of AV SuperFriends. I'm going to say, let's say hello, and then I introduce you. We've done this a couple of times.
It's in the notes.
Let's say hello to our panel with this. Our first panelist leads a cross-functional team dedicated to balancing the emotional and electrical needs of all classroom sources. He's a director of holistic input management from Kansas City. Say hello to Mr. Jamie Reinhart.
The secret to yoga.
Cable yoga.
Cable yoga.
Our next panelist is tasked with future-proofing all pathways, both physical and philosophical. He spearheads the Empty Before Pulling campaign to promote conduit mindfulness. He's a Chief Conduit Optimization Officer from Corvallis, Oregon. Say hello to Mr. Marc Kolozinski.
Hello there. Basically what we're doing is we're taking all the conduits out. Just explore the space.
All free air.
Free air.
It's wireless now.
We just go.
It's all wireless.
It's just wild. They really just explore the capabilities. It's amazing.
Our next panelist balances the acoustic energy of rooms and the emotional energy of faculty meetings. He once tuned a ceiling mic array using only intuition and the sound of disappointment. He's a senior manager for environmental echo and reverb control from Greensboro, North Carolina. Say hello to Mr. Larry Darling.
Yeah, it sounds about right, and it feels about right.
Perfect. Our next panelist oversees enterprise-wide initiatives to ensure that every network packet finds its ultimate purpose. He's a vice president of strategic signal flow from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Say hello to Mr. Justin Rexing.
Isn't that what a switch does? Every Ethernet frame is charge potential on copper. That's it. That's all I'm...
Yeah, but you're the vice president.
You're the vice president of QoS.
That's your job.
Yeah.
But there's things that do my job for me.
Don't
That's
give away
right.
the
Don't tell
secrets.
people that.
Yeah, come on.
That's what vice presidents do.
Delegate.
Okay.
And finally joined by a special guest panelist who advises clients on the philosophical implications of placing a projector where a chandelier should be. He's a senior consultant for existential building information modeling from Charleston, South Carolina. Say hello to Mr. Craig Park.
Welcome, and thank you for putting me on the show.
All right. So on today's show, we're going to discuss large capital projects and that process of working relationships with AV consultants and all that fun stuff, and why you have to use AV over IP or else. It's true. That's literally what that article is.
Just like, because yes.
But first, a little bit of housekeeping.
Yeah.
So before we get buried under another round of change orders, let's talk about a little bit of logistics here. If you're listening to this as a recorded MP3, remember we do stream live most Fridays, almost every Friday. We miss a few here and there, at about 3:15 Eastern, 12:15 Pacific, or whenever Justin finishes his site walk. You can join us for that live on Twitter, LinkedIn, or YouTube. If you can't make it
on the road,
or when Justin's on the way back from a site walk. If you can't make it live, please join us on the socials. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, and YouTube. And please spread the word. Share the show with your friends, your colleagues, your project managers, any consultants you're working with, even the contractor who swears. We'll get to it later because AV is part of Phase 6. And if you feel like tackling a few people on the job site and forcing them to listen to a few episodes, we support that initiative.
What's Phase 5?
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
It's not funded.
Don't worry about it.
If you'd like to support our project, please consider donating. Your contributions help to keep us bringing you the honest content that you love or that you least love to value engineer. And if you can find the donation link on the show notes that you're listening to in this episode or on our website. We do want to hear from you, so if there's a topic you want us to cover, please send us an email to mailbag@AVSuperFriends or drop a comment on the aforementioned socials. And finally, while you're out there listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever the heck you're listening to this thing, please leave a rating and review. It does force more people to see this. It pops to the top of their list.
Like, no,
they get confused by the interesting show art. They click it, and all of a sudden they're listening to this nonsense. It's a trick.
Though we'd like to believe that. I mean,
So
that's
does any rating help the algorithm?
Anything.
So if,
yes,
No.
but
it doesn't
don't
matter
be
if
that
they're
guy.
good. It just matters if somebody interacts.
Jamie,
with it.
do not be a dick and vote us down. So,
Oh
there.
my God. So sassy.
So to answer the question,
I
Jamie,
don't have
yes,
to.
it
My
does
kids do it for me.
dramatically affect the algorithm by voting down. So
a
don't
lot
be
riding
that
on
guy.
this one.
Yeah. So
Good Lord.
anyway, we've talked about
Wow.
this before. Okay,
Well,
now
surly there in Wyoming.
I'm just saying. I know where you're going with this.
Wow.
It's snowing again.
It probably is.
It is supposed to snow this weekend, so enjoy. Yes. So, all right, let's take a quick break, and we're going to. Which one is this one?
A
Ooh,
break. We haven't done anything yet.
before we get to the news,
It's
we're going to
union.
take a quick break.
This is union break.
Union break.
We're going to run. This is a brand new commercial, never been heard on this show, debuting right now.
Uh-oh.
Not that one.
Okay.
Are you tired of rigorous standards? Sick of engineers asking hard questions? Then say hello to AVSF Acknowledged, the industry's most prestigious certification program that tests absolutely nothing. That's right. Send us your gear, any gear, from pliers to projectors. And after a brief inspection where we mutter things like, looks good, or sounds great, or works just as you'd expect, boom, you're AVSF acknowledged. And manufacturers love it, because nothing says quality like a rubber stamp, a paid invoice, and a vague review that reads like it was written by your cousin who borrowed the thing once. So don't waste time on peer review, lab conditions, or, heaven forbid, actual feedback. Join the growing list of proud partners already touting our meaningless seal of approval.
AVSF Accepted, where credibility comes standard for a small fee. An independent amalgamated joint.
It happened, Justin. It happened. You cannot hide from it. It doesn't matter.
There was an audio issue in that one. I can fix that.
Yeah, who's the second dude that chimed in?
That's the second dude.
That's Mr.
We
Second. Dude.
acknowledged that
Like a
happened.
new hire.
All right. Now that said, you've waited for it all week, or for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's been like 3 weeks since we've done this show. Let's do the news. Justin, sing along.
Yeah. Nothing as good as the original.
Never.
Yeah.
And this week's news comes from it comes from BiAmp, because it's
That's all our news anymore.
technically a product announcement. This was announced at InfoComm, but is now shipping and available in firmware. I think some of you said you're even messing with this right now to test it out.
I attempted to.
So BiAmp announced the newest firmware for their Parlay mics and their Forte X processors, which supports presenter lift.
Yeah.
Meaning voice lift. I presumably guided towards the presenter at the front of the room, but voice lift without needing to wear a microphone, which is a pretty slick feature. Other manufacturers have it as well, but a pretty slick feature. They're adding this to the microphones you already have to provide increased voice lift for whether it's an ADA compliancy thing, or you just want better audio in the room, or you want to make sure they get heard, or the ever popular, they got halfway through the lecture and they forgot to clip on the microphone. So at least there's something there. And because this is a free update to the mics you already have, everyone go select everything in your SageView console. Click update right now.
Pow! Send it 5-4 to all. It's weird. Like, I was kind of intrigued by it when I saw it. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember the whisperings about this, and it was like, oh well, I guess I'll get that at some point. But then they kind of brought it back to my inbox, and I was like, oh yes, that's that thing. Let me force that to my sandbox.
That's why they sent you.
They sent it, and they reminded me. I was like, cool, but I'm actually probably less concerned like the voice lift piece and more just like the tracking piece of it, right? And so like more so how we're using our sandbox for transcription and a lot of that stuff with our Teams room environment. You can puke and whatever it is. But
you mean like forced, like directing the beams toward certain spaces? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, like that whole piece, because of the ability to get the meeting notes and all that. It's not even about somebody on the far side or anything like that. I don't care about that. That's not what I'm really focusing on. I'm focused about being able to more reliably send this person to the machine learning piece of it, and that part, and what additional capability do I get? Now, you all can hate that, and that's fine. But
I just think it's interesting
how
you've completely the analog space is no longer important. It's all about the data.
It is important, but there's only so much that we can talk about.
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah. Screw you, people. You don't need anything.
The people aren't
You'll get the
relevant
meeting
anymore.
notes later.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not even paying attention because I know there's going to be an AI summary
we
at some
need to
point.
care about our analog space. That's what the data
Show me
says,
the data,
Mark.
Show it to me.
It's right there.
I'm not saying ignore it together. I'm saying I'm intrigued by the ability for me to be able to more reliably provide that for transcription.
What are you eating, and did you bring enough for everybody?
I did. It's my lunch. Sorry. So
You act like you're in a different time zone.
I'm not. I'm actually on the East Coast time zone. It's been a
You
big
get
farce.
lunch?
No, I'm here with you guys. So, that's at least that was my intrigue around the capability of that, and did it change how we would look at just our overhead microphones in that space, and maybe we can get out of needing to have lavalier microphones, more so for just capturing conversation and idea, and not necessarily for the remote delivery.
So did you download this?
Yes.
Did you try to use it?
I've not tried to use it. It's sitting on there. I have it. It's there. It's been
You
pushed.
have it. It's ready.
It's ready to go.
Is it collecting metrics
I hope
as
so.
we speak?
It's listening to us right now.
It's aimed
So-
directly at the door into the restroom.
As part of this, right? They updated the software,
It's the software,
to
yeah,
5.4,
the whole thing.
right? And they did
changed the
overhaul
icons.
it. It's different. Yeah. So
Get ready.
there's some things that are moved, and some things that I now have new firewall violations.
You're
So
welcome.
Oh, no.
I am unable to use this at the moment. So double check it before you start pushing, because I wanted to see how it worked.
Yeah.
So I downloaded it to my test unit in the office, and my computer said, "Oh hell no!"
So the firewall in your computer?
Yeah, it's just the enterprise management firewalls. I've got to have to.
We can fix
connect
that
to
real quick.
Turn it off.
The
Yeah.
CISO
You need a
and get
firewall.
it changed, and
What's it
It's
trying
tagged
to
as a different
use? What is it?
software now, so it thinks it's different.
it's probably something stupid just like that. I don't know. I tried it for about 15 and a half seconds. It told me no, and so I got mad and I left.
You want to AV7
Stomp my
acknowledge
feet.
stamp it? You want to just
Accept it at least.
Yeah, but so I did attempt to use it. I couldn't, but I did notice that
great feedback.
when I was looking for some of the parts, I'm like, oh, well, I just need to add my unit into the equipment. Wait, that's moved. Oh, wait. So give yourself a few minutes to reorient yourself with the new
Well,
standard
but importantly,
layout.
Jamie, both you and Mark, you both said I rolled this out on my test system
Oh,
and see
yes.
how it goes, as opposed to
Oh, yeah.
my suggestion of select all, update. Roll it. Class starts in 3
It's too
minutes.
early in the day to do that. You got to wait till later on Friday to do that.
Yeah.
Chris.
No,
you
I-
can't just.
8:57 a.m. Pow!
I thought it was like
Monday.
4:59 on Friday. Push it, and that way it's ready to go.
No,
for
no,
you
no. I
Monday
want to
morning.
be there to enjoy the fruits of my labor, to see all the spaces that have now been updated.
But you'll be there all weekend, so it'll be
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
I typically like to push that, on Monday morning before I
Send
head
it
out.
Friday and then go home and do your weekend stuff and then come in Monday for the surprise.
Just wait for it. Just wait for it. I'll be interested to see how it works.
No, I
I think anything that provides improved audio, whether it's in room or for meetings, especially low impact, low profile sort of stuff like this, which is one of the reasons that ceiling mics in general, and as they have improved dramatically in the last 6 to 8 years, sort of thing, ceiling mics are great because you don't have to worry about getting it off the charger. You don't have to worry about putting it on and clipping it on the right way or turning it on or unmuting. It's just there. And the audio may not be as good as somebody wearing a lav or holding a handheld appropriately, but this audio is way better than no audio. So, in fact, Jamie, just the other day, I was telling someone about how we used to install the little gooseneck mics on each desk, which was not a great audio source,
Something,
but
though.
it was way better than them doing their entire lecture and forgetting to wear a microphone. So at least they had some audio.
as they walk by
Yeah.
This is what I sound like.
get
when I-
that Doppler effect.
Exactly. And so
I thought that was spatial audio.
That was
That's
spatial
not
audio.
what that shit is.
It's coming
Do you want me
back.
to- I'll run that one now. Don't help me.
That's exactly what that is.
yeah, I know. I think it's intriguing. They're doing their part to push that out there.
And
Give us more data.
added bonus to the mics you already have, unless you're like me and you have, what did I count the other day? 600 and some of the first generation to
I
zero
have a
mics, at which
bunch of
point
the
they were
ones
like,
that
no,
don't qualify.
you don't
So
get that.
the place where this would be the most useful,
You can't use it
can't use it.
Where would that be?
everywhere. He has
Any
them.
space that this would be useful.
All the
Okay.
rooms that have the dingly dangle golf ball
yeah,
mics.
that have the dingly dingles.
Yes, true.
All of the Christmas ornaments hanging out of the ceiling.
Oh, yes. I like those.
We've even got rid of those.
Oh,
We have
You
MPS
had like
100s running
one.
around. We
You
got
had
rid
one.
of all those hanging mics. Yeah.
You have rooms without speakers. Why do you have mics?
That's for recording.
It's wild. It's wild
It's
out here in
voice lift.
Kentucky.
it's accessibility.
It's for voice lift, Larry.
Yeah.
We just
We have
assume.
our voice lift building over here. This is our building with no audio. This is our building with 55-inch TVs in every room.
It's presenter lift. They just grab hold and lift.
I recently came across the room we did long ago in that first rev of like the Devios shipped, and they had their own little dingle dangly microphone balls, but they looked so suspiciously similar to the other ones that came out.
Yeah,
And,
don't
and then
plug
I
one
had
into the
forgotten
other.
that they are not the same microphones. I was like, why are these not working? I think they need to
They
work,
are
but they
not.
are not at all the same microphone.
No.
The box looks the same. Everything except the text on them seems to be exactly the same. They're not. They don't work. So anyway, they made their way to.
So added bonus for anybody with the appropriate mics and DSP hardware. Free feature updates. So there you go, and a very cool feature, by the way. So
There you go.
other manufacturers do provide the same sort of capability, and then there's also the places that just do it through right on the edge of ringing live mixing. Please don't do that, but I keep finding those.
Did it have, does it have the triangulation data path?
The analog ringing version?
No. This software does it give you steerability with other things?
Oh, for like cameras and
That's why I didn't dig into that nuance.
yes,
I know
you can
there's
get
ways
the
to do
data
it with like the old
yes.
version, and so I'm
Yeah, there's ways to do it. I don't think it's built in that way, but there are ways to do it. So
Yeah, I know. You can build your own little Rube Goldberg
Marc,
thing.
no.
Yeah. Come on, man. I need to feed the machine.
I can't even get it to work, and I'll tell you no.
Craig, let me throw it to you on this one. What are you seeing from the standpoint of projects? Is voice lift a request? Is voice lift a requirement? Is something like this adequate for providing in-room voice lift to ensure you at least get some audio, or what are your thoughts?
Yes, I probably in every project that has some either lecture capture or hybrid streaming component to the pedagogy that's happening in the classroom, voice lift is a great solution. And certainly the as somebody said earlier, the quality of those ceiling mics has gotten to the point now where we can almost leave the acoustician out of the room. I don't want to ever say that out loud to my friends who are acousticians, but it has gotten pretty incredible what you can do with them on pickup. And to your point, to free the faculty from being able to wander without worrying about lavaliers or battery packs or anything else. So.
Yeah, the battery pack one bit us the other day that they, didn't put the mic back on the charging base. One of the few rooms that has a charging base, took the mic off and it died in the middle of the thing, and then they were angry with it. I'm like, I don't control chemical physics, but hey. Yeah.
We have folks like, it dies too fast. It's like it lasts for 4 hours. So I don't know what you're talking about.
6
hours even. Some
the new lithium ones are like 12 to
That's
16.
insane.
It's still not the next day,
No.
which is the usual complaint I get.
Or
It was dead.
they
It was
walk out of the room still wearing it.
well, there's
Yeah,
that.
they'll walk out of the room and then, it's gone. We'll put a new one in there. A couple days later, there's 2 mics in this room now.
Trying to use both. It's louder. So, yeah, usually the complaint we get is the battery's dead. It's the first class in the morning. The battery's dead again. I'm like, yeah, because the last person left it off. It doesn't work overnight.
Well, don't you parachute in at night and take care of that for them?
Yeah, it's right on top of my list.
24/7.
Get right to it.
24/7 service. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right. Well, let's close this one out. We'll take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk with Craig in depth about lots of projects and how we wrangle all that stuff and trying to figure out that process and all sorts of fun topics here. So let's see this one. The AV SuperFriends are sponsored by Computer Comforts Incorporated. CCI has been building tech furniture for the education market since 1987. Instructor lecterns, computer lab tables, collaborative tables, and active learning clusters are just a few of the many innovative products made by CCI. Speaking of lecterns, Computer Comforts has just released Evolve. If you're looking to future-proof your classroom, Evolve is the Swiss Army knife of lecterns. Seriously, this flexible lectern does it all. Not only is Evolve sit-to-stand and ADA compliant, it's also packed with tech-friendly features. And the best part, it ships fully assembled and ready for action. Check out the 90-second video to see all the options. Visit computercomforts.com/evolve.
It's a Swiss Army knife.
It's a Swiss Army knife lectern. Great.
We've acknowledged that product too.
We even accepted
So
it.
actually, we've acknowledged that one in person. So, all right. Well, let's get right to it. Oh,
Get
wait.
into it. Oh, wait, what?
Got to play this one.
That's right.
Cost a lot of
Forgot. We owe royalties to Larry's
Contractually.
band for producing that one for us.
So, joined today by our special guest panelist, Craig Park from Clark and Anderson. Craig, why don't you give us the 30-second overview of who you are and what you're doing, and then we'll jump right into some of the stuff we talked about at ETC and all that fun stuff.
Sounds good. Thanks, Chris. Craig Park. I'm an architect by training and went into audiovisual consulting right out of college. I had interned for an AV consultant back in California when I was in school for architecture. I was looking for a job in an architect's office, and they all went to USC, and I went to Cal Poly, and those intern jobs went to the USC students. So I ended up working for a company called Hubert Wilkie, which is now known as Shen Milson Wilkie, and probably the oldest and one of the more well-known firms. And I ended up there for quite a number of years. I got back into architecture in the early 2000s and did that for about 10 years, and then came back into AV consulting in 2010. And in 2022, joined Clark and Anderson, my first time, rather than being an independent consultant, working inside of an architectural engineering practice. We're a 200-person AE with offices across the country and specialize in science and tech kinds of projects, mostly in higher ed. About 80% of our practice is labs and research and classrooms in STEM education facilities. Been active in the industry through all that career. Been on the AVIXA board when it was NAVA.
Nice.
So there you go. I won't give away how old am I, but I have seen the evolution of AVIXA from its beginnings to where it is today. And but I'm also involved in the AIA and a couple of SCUP, Society of College and University Planning, APA, the Association of Physical Plant Administrators, which are all the facilities management staff on the campuses, and also working with Ed Spaces and A4LE on the K-12 sector. So education has been my practice area for the last about 15 years.
And now also a podcast host.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm host of EdUp Smart Space, part of the EdUp Experience ecosystems of higher education-related podcasts. So hopefully we'll have all you folks on my show in the real soon now.
Okay, but we only come as a group.
We'll see how you feel about that when we get to the end of this one.
After this one's over, I'll let you know.
How fast can we sink Craig's ship?
So, Craig, a few weeks ago at the ETC conference, you had presented a kind of a model on. I'm going to paraphrase here and probably shortchange you here, but a model on trying to maintain appropriate communication throughout a project process for all the stakeholders at the table to ensure that what we end up with at the end of the project, the final delivered project, is what we were talking about at the beginning of the project, and that everybody is happy and copacetic and all that fun stuff. Is that a fair 18-second shakedown?
Absolutely. The reason that because
I made most of it up, so
yeah, no, it was pretty good, pretty close. It certainly was what my goal was. Being in the industry for 40 plus years, I have been called to projects too late where the architects have made decisions that compromise the quality of how AV can work, whether it be acoustics or lighting or shape or just we forgot the infrastructure to the point where it's become, it's all wireless. That we, I'm becoming a more vocal advocate for early engagement with the AVIT team as early in the project as possible. And I now have a pulpit within the Clark and Anderson firm where they hear that, and we're now brought to the table. And the first thing I say is, "Where's Chris?" Or "Where's Jamie?" in that conversation before those projects start. And that what you heard me advocate, though, at ETC was that it's not a one and done. It's a continual conversation through the life of a project. And what folks who are on the operations side or even the faculty side don't often recognize that the time from when we start, day one, when I call first pencil on paper for collecting data about a project, to the day it opens is 3 years from now. And we all know that the technology is going to advance in that time, and that things need to be accommodated. So, how do we focus on good infrastructure planning, knowing that the systems will be likely to be somewhat different, if not completely different, than what we're using today?
So yeah, let's jump right in on that. And we kind of, right before the show, we talked kind of where we want to start this conversation, because we came up with a list of potential topics, and as you pointed out, Craig, I mean, any one of those could be an hour-long conversation. So this will be our longest episode at 17 hours. Yep. So everyone just hold up a chair. Stay tuned. So I'm going to start with this conversation, or this point in the conversation. We'll see where it goes. So, and you mentioned it there briefly, but how do we bridge that gap when we're part of a larger capital construction project? As you mentioned, multi-year, multi-phase project sort of thing, invariably. How do we bridge the gap between those initial conversations, between what we generally as the owner's representative or the owner's technology representative, what we would like to see, what we'd like to have in these spaces, what we'd like to see as far as technology deployments and infrastructure and all that, and then 3 years later, kind of like, well, here's what we ended up with, which maybe 50% of the way there. Some, lots of moving pieces, lots of things change. Mm-hmm. How do we ensure that what we talk about in those early meetings aligns with what shows up on, on day one? And then the ever popular question of like, why can't I just give you a copy of my current classroom standards and let's just use that?
Sure. The why is that the communication gap between the 6 phases that the architects go through is the telephone, the game of telephone that happens in almost every project. And it's not unique to AVIT. It happens on furniture. It happens on lots of different parts of the project. And I witnessed that. So I think what I advocate for is a consistent presence in the room in all of the what are known as colloquially as the OAC meetings, owner, architect, contractor, that happen on average every 2 to 3 weeks from the beginning to the end. And I know that that's a commitment from your staff, which is already stretched to how do I get someone in the room. But at a minimum, review the meeting notes from those meetings so that if a technology-related topic comes up, that you can have that. But as I mentioned in the presentation I did at ETC, was that the design team, architects and engineers, present our quote-unquote solutions at the ends of each of those phases. And we give those to the client for significant review. I can't tell you how often that review actually never happens, so we don't get any feedback from them. Sometimes we do, and sometimes they're really detailed and they're really good. And sometimes that has happened recently where, oh, by the way, our campus standards that we gave you 24 months ago, we just did an update. So here's the new one, which fortunately came ahead of writing the technical spec for the project. This happens at Kansas State. So now the technical specs for a project are going to reflect something different than what it was when we started 2 years ago.
So I think I want to pull on a little bit of those threads. I think that's I want to acknowledge that this can be a really tricky conversation for a lot of folks. And a couple of pieces you said, like talking to Jamie, making sure they're at the table and the like. But then the other piece you had said that presenting solutions right? And I think we've all gone through different versions of this early on in the process. And I think people around the room here, I don't think we're at a solutions point yet in that conversation, right? I think that's where we get really tripped up, and oftentimes it feels like we're out over our skis a little bit when we haven't really gotten to a point where we feel it's time to really talk about things and boxes and stuff of that nature. And oftentimes it's like, why are we having this, what stuff's going to be their conversation so early?
Yeah, I think I wanted to echo what Marc was saying. A lot of times, like, I've been in this situation where we've gotten the solutions to review, but we don't really understand what the problem is yet. Like, we haven't had a chance to talk with the instructional designers, the faculty, like the people who are wanting to use this unique space to teach in a new way. And if we don't understand how they're planning to use the room, I can't say whether this design is going to be successful or not. And I agree we need to be there early, but it seems like we're often there when the technology discussion happens, not when how the program of the space happens.
Thank you. And that's, and maybe I mischaracterized the word solutions, because I don't want to sound like it's a one-line diagram of how the technology is going to be interconnected in this room. It really is, if you look at I was in a programming meeting yesterday for 2 buildings at a local university. We met with the PhD researchers who will be using the labs. We met with the faculty who will be teaching in the classrooms. We met with the students, arranged from sophomores to seniors, who are in that program, about what they experience in their current classrooms. It's an interesting project because it's a renovation of a building and the addition of a new building that are 30 miles apart. But they will be interconnected because the labs that happen out in the field will be video streamed to the classrooms on the campus, so that those students can witness what's happening in the field research. What we were talking about yesterday was what kinds of rooms need to be in this building and what happens in those rooms, not do they talk. Are they recorded? We actually didn't even get to that level. We were really just talking about how many students are in that space or how many researchers are in that space. That level of what I call functional and performance expectation is really what happens through the first half of the project, through the end of design development. And it isn't really until the end of that first half of programming, schematic design, design development, the architects break down the project, where we finally get to say, this is how big this room is, so this is how big that screen needs to be, or screens, and this is how many loudspeakers are in that ceiling to give you good coverage, and how many microphones are in that ceiling to give you good coverage. We're not even at that point of talking about what's the human interface to how do we control it. It really is just what I call the physics of oral clarity and visual acuity. How do you cover the room with sound, and how do you provide enough image square footage that you can see and read, assuming that a professor doesn't do 16-point type on.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. PowerPoint's 4.3 is perfect.
We're not doing whiteboards.
There you go. Well, there's that too. I don't know if I don't want to overcharacterize. I've been in meetings where solutions are suggested too early, that this needs to be what brand? I mean, down to the brand level of I want, Sony Bravia monitors. And I said, I don't know.
We don't care about the stuff really.
At some point we will, but not right now.
At some point we will, but not then.
Yeah. No,
it
we want the
doesn't matter.
experience.
It's a screen of a certain size, because who knows if there's a rapid drop in the price of DV LED, we could all have video walls. In 5 years.
I mean, can we back up a little bit?
Good.
Is that okay to back up?
We can go.
To the very beginning?
We have a time machine, Justin. We can go forward and backward in time. Go.
So something that is bothering me with the process is, and you say, we asked for the Chris, we asked for the Jamie when you first come in. Every university is different. So, for example, if a consultant comes on our campus, you are literally taking my job away. And then there's other areas where they don't even have an integration programmer. It's just support, right? And so they always rely on integrators. So what happens when you walk into your first meetings and you try to engage the design team and the owner's representative, who might be facilities,
Yeah.
Let's say there's a facilities IT war going on. And let's say when you ask for those people, they say, well, they're not going to be involved in this project. We're going to handle this on our own. What is that conversation like? Because you know that's not going to probably go well. Is there any red flags with that? Or how do you handle different situations for each unique university when they do have a full design engineer that always does that in integration? And like, what do you do in those situations?
Well, clearly that's the political minefield that we all walk through. And in any collaborative organization where you've got outside interests being brought in to help make something happen. So to your point, it always depends on what resources are available and what do they expect to be able to do. You know, I have rarely seen an internal team or an integrator who has Revit as their in their toolkit to be able to produce the kind of. I'm not saying that there aren't out there, but rarely. And so we asked that question, and I asked that question yesterday when I was at the local university, and we have a meeting, and they weren't in the room because this was considered a information gathering meeting with faculty and students. But they
should be though.
But they should be. And so we're meeting on Monday. I said, well, I can't go forward with any kind of help on the kinds of, and this is just rationalizing the available budget to the goals of the unit that will be occupying these buildings. So I can't make any call on what that budget should be until I talk to the in-house technology folks. So everyone is a different model, and every team is different in terms of what their resources are internally and externally. We try to be a collaborator. That's our goal. It's been my goal as a consultant when I had my own practice back in the West Coast in the 80s and 90s, and it's been my practice here building the practice at Clark and Henderson.
Do you change your approach a little bit based upon that dynamic of the AV experts in-house versus if they have none or if they do have some? Is there a set of questions you ask, and kind of how do you get to that answer?
How will this be supported? Because I've been on campuses that totally rely on a third-party integrator to be there on-site support. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you that the ones I run into is where that integrator has the bigger voice and they oversell. Mm-hmm. They go in selling product.
Right. Yeah. The register's ringing. Cha-ching. It's margin.
Oh, it's what they do. It's why it's the argument consultants have made throughout history is that we're independent. We're not independent. We have biases towards products. I joked that, back in the day when AMX took me out to dinner for fine French food and a $100 bottle of Chardonnay versus the guy from Crestron who brought in lasagna, it was, who am I going to spec tomorrow?
See, I hate that shit. I hate that shit. Damn it. This is the problem with our industry and consultants, because that is not in our best interest. Right.
Right. And so, but that was a done in the spirit of AV SuperFriends when I wrote that article about is it top of mind or full of stomach that made the choices that I made. But the reality is that when the integrators are a big voice in the room, they tend to oversell hardware solutions because it's they're in their interest to make money.
But I've seen consultants do that too.
Well,
everyone that I've worked with, I've never worked with you, but 100% of the consultants up design everything. And when we suggest, why don't we remove this because you don't need that and it needs to become more efficient, it never gets removed, but any ads that I suggest get added back in.
Of course. Well, and I can say it may be truly and I can say, and I've had this comment made about me in the industry in the 40 years, as that because I come with not an engineering technical mindset, I come with an architect's three-dimensional visualize the space mindset. I've always said, I'm an architect first and an engineer second. I grew up, my father was a telecommunications engineer. I grew up looking at one-line diagrams for missiles in space. So I understood the connectivity between devices, but that's not really what I'm trying to focus on. I'm really trying to focus on function and performance. And I know that there's a variety of gear that out there will do that. So I don't know that I'm unique, but I certainly say that I that's the message I have with my teams when I've been leading the organizations. So when it was with my practice in San Francisco and one in the Midwest, and now at Clark and Henderson. That's certainly our attitude. I've argued with lots of other consultants who gold plate. I have walked into rooms with 8 equipment racks for a 100-seat seminar room.
Or a DMPS 5000 for one input, one output classroom.
It blows my mind to see what they got away with, and got away with it in a bad way. I call, how do we raise the bar instead of lower the bar? And raise the bar is to engage you all in those conversations early and often through the process. It's not always perfect. There are, as you mentioned, institutional sides of the university and college systems that say these are silos that are not going to be crossed, that they are independent and will get to you when it's your turn. I've heard that before. I can advocate. I made that advocacy clear when I was at ETC. I've told this story since I wrote an article for SNVC in 1986, which is giving away a little bit of my age, about how consultants, contractors, and users could work together better. It's something message I've been singing all along. Doesn't always work. Doesn't mean it's wrong. I like to think that it's the right way to do things. And the projects where you asked in one of the questions, you say, when projects that are good, the ones that I consider the most successful are the ones when those conversations happen early and continuously through the life of the project. And we were co-creating the solution. Whether we were just the documenters in the Revit model, or we were bringing ideas about this is how this might work with some integration of lighting or acoustics or some other part of the architecture.
Yeah, I think it's a really good, maybe a slight pivot there, Craig. I think there are opportunities and there are examples where it is good. And I think mileage may vary, right, depending on how we see consultants coming in and doing that work. But I keep getting drawn back to the definition of success here in this conversation, in that to a common learning in space, I think our standards that we do kind of day in, day out probably represent our current portfolio of services that are successful for us from a support standpoint, right? These are the things we're going to do day in and day out, every day, twice on Sunday, and it's going to work. Our staffs are aligned with it. Our capabilities are in line. And we feel that if we adopt that where we can to define that success that this is actually meeting, and say, well, here's the areas maybe that we have an opportunity to consult on, in that, how do we do some of these edge pieces? And we would love to engage in that conversation, but sometimes we are left in this position where we're having to deal with the flooding of the zone, right? We have all this stuff that's coming towards us. We got to respond to this, do this, and blah, blah, blah. And we're not getting the energy we get to actually focus on these one things. We're spending too much time having to respond to, no, this is not our standard thing. This is the standard thing. And we're spending a lot of administrative cycles, and it almost feels intentional that we're just going to overwhelm the client with all of this response and all this stuff. And then we're going to go do this thing over here. And then we're gonna do this, and then it's gonna jump out of the box, and then we're gonna have arts of sex, and that's gonna be our picture we're gonna put on our website, because that's gonna be our next thing we're gonna sell. And so, oftentimes it feels like there's almost this. We're being taken advantage of because we're trying to do all this stuff, and we're trying to all do it. But I want to go back to what is that definition of success? Really start with what is that? What's the language that is success? When we if you're coming to the table and I'm coming to the table, what does success look like for you? And then maybe we'll share what success looks like for us.
Okay, so fundamentally, it's when this project opens, does the technology in the room help improve the communication from the faculty to the students, and do the results of that pedagogical experience supported by technology improve learning outcomes? Do students come out of this space better equipped to do whatever they've learned in whatever department, whatever it might be, because the technology helped them collaborate better, learn better because they could hear or see better. That's the bottom line. It doesn't really matter. It can be as simple as it wants to be.
Sometimes nothing is better than something.
Sometimes nothing is better. I saw very simple systems at my local university this week. However, the screens were undersized, and everyone said, "This is our standard screen." It's in every
There is no such
standard screen. There's no standard screen.
No. Well, this is our.
There's no standard size for a screen. Let's just agree on that.
Craig, in that scenario, stop listening to them. So.
Stop. 86
That is
inches squared.
That is not correct.
Yeah. No. Anyway, my
So
point
this is
was
why
that,
consultants exist.
well, to say we could have done it differently,
Right.
that would be that's the old joke about how many light bulbs. But my point was that they all recognize that their current standard for an off-the-shelf interactive screen, which is in every classroom, is easy to use, but too small for the room size. Nobody sized it based on discus standards.
But
They
Craig,
based
no
it
one
on-
complains. No one's ever complained.
Everyone in the room
Craig.
complained.
Oh.
No, I have the notes. Everyone said, if we can't have a bigger screen, can we have more screens? Because then they're closer to us and we can see them. And I heard your podcast the other day about
Just
more
everybody issue laptops and no AV at that point. Like that's
It's a solution.
That's a
Talk
solution.
about that, yeah.
It is a solution. And I've talked about it before. I'm not sure. That assumes everybody has a laptop.
Right. There's equitable pieces that play into that.
Yeah, it's the equity part too.
So going back to what you were saying at the very beginning of this is measuring student outcomes. That's difficult for consultants because they're usually gone by day 7. So, with that measuring outcomes, that's sometimes not a semester, that's years of measuring that. So It's hard to say that that's a metric of success when the building opens for a consultant vision.
True.
I would say.
I'm just saying, but it's my goal to say,
Sure.
I would like the feedback to say it worked or it didn't work. I would love to, you're right. I will say the one thing I've learned in joining an architectural engineering firm is that the contracts that your universities have with us, often, depending on the client and depends on the university, have a 1-year look back. So a year later, let's go back and see how did this all work from everything from HVAC to electrical to lighting to technology. And that's really been a pleasure that we get that feedback loop. Now, it may still be, to your point, soon enough or long enough, but we do get some feedback.
That's interesting because I think some of us in the process aren't aware of that.
Yeah.
And that and then where does that feedback come from? So your initial meetings are set up with, end users and stakeholders. Right. There's always Daddy Warbucks got to sign the check. He's there too. But the stakeholders are there, students, the faculty, if you can get some of the staff responsible as you can. Your notes are taken, and then we skip to that 1-year review. But is it the same people? Right? Is that 1-year review the same people, or was it just the contractual stakeholders? Because that's where some of this falls apart too, is that it's like, okay, you handed, or we put in this plan together, right? We put in this plan. It's not really what people think they want and what they really want, is different. And so that's why that's part of this confusion, especially for those of us that maybe integrate and do a lot of the actual technology integration, where like frequently I will use one of you guys for that Revit model. We'll take it from there, but we don't get access to the user notes from the beginning. So what was promised is not what's delivered. Therefore, the message is skewed. And so that's a big gap there too.
Yeah. And to kind of go along with that, like you said several things that made me happy, like the successful learning outcomes, because that's like my happy place.
Yeah.
My concern is it doesn't really matter about the technology we put in if no one has gotten in front of the end user and said, your plans for teaching and learning in this space don't align with the physical characteristics of the space.
Right.
And I feel like we're trying to solve a lot of issues with technology, whether it's ceiling height, whether it's square foot per student in active learning spaces, that by the time we get the solutions, like there's no way to fix some of that. And I was curious, like, in a typical architecture, because I've always either been on an integrator or in higher ed. I've never worked architecture side. Is there any expertise there in teaching and learning on these groups that are having these discussions up front?
The teams, and I can only speak to us, but I'll also speak to my role as a consultant to other architects, and I've consulted with hundreds of architects. It depends. There are firms that have, like Clark & Anderson, has a higher education and a science and technology related higher education subset of architects who do, that's all they work on. So they spend enough time with educators and with campus facilities planning and campus facilities management teams to understand the impact on pedagogy from the way they design space. There are architects who don't, who have a workplace or a healthcare background, but win a project and are doing higher ed, thinking that a space is a space is a space. I've been on those kind of teams too, where we've designed glass wall classrooms and wonder why that didn't work.
That sounds awesome.
And, that's a great point. Like, have you ever been a part of a design or a whole building where you're like, this is a really bad idea. This shit's not going to work. Have you ever said, enough? We cannot do this. I'm backing out. We quit.
I have said as loud as I can and on paper, this is not going to work. I have shown you in the model. I have a glass wall auditorium in Atlanta I can still point to. It got built.
So you did it begrudgingly, like you did it anyway?
I said, here,
no dumb idea, too big or small.
Yeah, we signed here. This is stupid.
and so I was telling a friend earlier, I wrote an article. Why didn't you tell me I was being stupid?
We tried to, but you didn't listen.
There was enough zeros on that check.
Right. No, on my check, no, that wasn't the issue. The issue was they came back to me afterwards and said, we want to use this projector.
Oh. And
I said, why? Well, because we use it. It's one of our portable solutions, and we find it really works. That is inappropriate for this room in a fixed installation. Doesn't matter. We want this projector. I said, okay. We spec'd it. It went in. They called up and said, it's not bright enough, and it's not higher resolution enough. And I said, I told you. Well, you didn't tell us loud enough, so you have to pay to replace it.
See, I think that's a really good point, though, because too often does this become a legal conversation, it feels, right? We can have all this conversation and meet and sing Kumbaya together, and all of a sudden it's he who has paid the lawyer to document the best that's ultimately going to win in the end. And it often feels that way, that it doesn't matter what we talk about. It's who has put the energy into writing down this fine print and submitting it into a way. And once that's in the project and whatever it is now the burden of proof for everybody else.
Right. Unfortunately. And the good news, it doesn't happen that often. But it does happen. And I will say that I try and make sure that we are, if a decision's being made that goes against the laws of physics, that I'm making sure that that's in the record, the court record, that this is going to be a problem later on. And I can't do anything about that because I can't rewrite those laws.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, back to the original conversation, I have worked with campuses. You somewhere in the questions was, what's a good example? I worked with UT Southwestern now 10 years ago on a project where they had a faculty group redesign their curriculum. And they spent 2 years doing it before they hired the architects who were higher education experts and a consultant to come in and design an active learning space for them. And it became the model for their team-based learning classes all over the campus. And it's AV over IP. I know it's your favorite subject.
all is.
But it was a very successful project, and the AV and IT folks were in the room from the beginning. Now, I will say in that particular campus, they were separate departments who had their own turf wars, and you could feel that dynamic when you were in the room with them. But at the end, they understood that this was going to become a model sort of test case for this shift in pedagogical approach for teaching medicine. And at the end of the day, it worked. And 10 years later, that architect is still showing that project as the model for how you can do a collaborative teaching environment that works at a simple enough from a functional level that a single faculty can teach in a large group of team-based cohorts. So that to me is still one of the highlights. And it was an early application of a new technology. We hadn't done networked AV really at any level before, and this is 250 students in 42 teams of 6 in one room.
Sounds like a coordination.
Yeah, I think the teaching coordination is much harder than the technology.
Did you say 42 different student groups of? Holy smokes!
I've seen rooms that big, and I've panicked just by walking in.
And it replaced the 250 seat auditorium.
And I was going to say, did it start with the capacity being like that was where they started and they worked backwards?
That's their second and third year clerkship for the med school, and
we've seen stuff like up in Portland at some of their med schools. Very similar approaches, massive active learning style rooms. They're just like, holy moly. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and Dr. Stoll, who led that faculty group, we presented this project a year later at SCUP, and he said, when I walked into Craig's room, in which I didn't have gray hair before that moment, he said, I thought I would need, 2 TAs and a tech support person in the room. And I now teach this room by myself. Yeah. The only thing is that the distributed sound is so good that I can't tell when the team, A6 has an answer. We had to put a light that lights atop on their monitor to let me know where they are in the room, who's speaking. And it's because it's a push to talk for each of the teams. But it was one where we controlled the acoustics and the lighting and the distribution of underfloor of network cabling. And the AV and the IT rooms are adjacent, but there is a physical wall because the 2 departments wanted a physical wall between the AV racks and the IT racks, though they actually didn't really need to have a wall there. The cables run through the floor and over the top. Anyway, but that group was there. There was somebody from the AV and IT teams in all those meetings at that point. I think it was about 9 months of planning, monthly meetings in every room, so that we had input. And at the end of the day, it was successful. Yes, go ahead, Larry.
I'm about to get kicked off the show, and so I'm okay with that.
I'm going to play that commercial then.
There you go.
I know.
Immediately.
That's okay.
This is usually my role, so I'm excited.
I'm sure the technology worked flawlessly, and that was done well. But I think what made that space successful was the fact that it was driven by faculty and learning design, and there was an investment put in to make sure that the faculty were supported and instructional designers were provided for. I think that's what makes active learning spaces successful.
I think that's what makes all learning spaces work. To your point, is that if we're not having that collaborative conversation between instructional design, faculty delivery, and the technology and the facility side, in what are our goals in the beginning, you hit it on the nose. You see the issue. And I said this in my presentation, Chris and Justin heard me, we need to be louder voices at the beginning of the project to say, this is important.
I've been loud and I've been,
Yeah, they just escort you out though, Justin. That's a different conversation.
There's
different legal conversations going on there.
So, speaking of being loud and easy to use systems and all that, we want to talk about Punch Out. I got a couple questions about Punch Out and like the limits
that game,
of Punch
the old
Out.
school game. That was a sweet game.
Yeah,
Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
So let's say the punch listing process of
So let's say
commissioning process.
Yeah, commissioning punch list. You come in and you're verifying what the integrator did, and let's say that you find something egregious, and of course there's payment withhold. But let's say that whatever egregious mistake that happened, that is causing lots of problems, that might be a code violation, It's a very obvious thing. And the integrator says, you know what? Just keep our money, because to redo all that and to fix it is just not worth our time. So you can just have the rest of our money. And how do you deal with situations where you can't get the integrator to follow up on a punch item? Because now you don't have money, because now they said, well, that money's not worth it to us because time's more valuable now.
Well, you either find another integrator to come in and do that work. And
you go after insurance bonds.
And you go after insurance and errors and omissions insurance on everybody's carries those, business insurance for that liability. They've shifted the delivery model of projects now to CM at risk, which means the construction manager, in theory, covers that. Where in the design bid to build litigate model is you get what you just described, where everybody's an independent contract, and whether you fulfilled it or not. I am the chair of the South Carolina Architectural Foundation. We have a new building in Columbia called the Center for Architecture. It has a very nice, relatively simple AV system with 3 projectors and a decent sound system. However, the EQ in a very hard room is not very good, and I can't get the integrator to come back and tune the room because he doesn't have a contract. Now, we're going to solve that problem by paying him to come back, and he will. But we got the certificate of occupancy in October of 23. Where are we today? 2 years later.
See, that's not fair for the client's money to have them.
No, it's not. It's hard to put on exhibits and do presentations in the space because of a ring that we've learned to move the microphone to get out of that ring zone. But it's an architect. I can go down the why architects need to learn to design with their ears, because that particular room was not designed by me, and I wasn't. I was just.
Nobody hears the website.
Well, architects in architect schools should be studying acoustics. I mean, that's like
I have argued for that one too, and I think they should learn about technology as well. We learned in my education. I learned structural engineering, and I learned about a minute worth of acoustics and a minute worth of lighting in the 5 years of school. And so you learn it all.
Acoustics and lighting exist.
But Craig, that was way back in like the 30s, right?
I know. It was analog. Everything was analog. I've been doing this since it was shadow buddies and Dixie cups and string.
He was still lighting gas lanterns.
Kerosene lamps.
You know, I made a presentation at Jamie's University about the future of technology for the Block School building back in the 2014. And the first slide I show is a slide from a picture of a classroom in 1906. It's a kerosene-fired glass slide projector in a room with no ventilation, and 20 architects learning architectural history. And I said, and this is the problem, because this is how architects are taught about AV, is with ancient technology.
So, Craig, as we I get ready to wrap up this little chunk of this conversation, I'm curious. Let's get out of the legalese conversation a little bit here, and get off of the things that have gone wrong. But through your years and kind of where you are now, when you're brought in the conversation, what types of whether it be trends or technologies or opportunities, what's exciting you the most? You think that's out there right now? But I'm not going to let you say AV over IP or anything hybrid. And so
3D.
Can I say AI?
You can, but I want to. You got to elaborate on that, because I want to know
specific examples.
Because I think everybody's going to say AI and data. I understand that, but I think the standard stuff. Let's assume that stuff's being dealt with, and we're not talking about COVID response stuff, because we're all doing that. We're doing all that easy stuff. Where's the opportunity for us to really engage and think about what is this going to be looking like moving forward? And let's pretend we got all the legal stuff right and everything's going to work together. We're going to have this conversation. Where are we engaging and where are we exciting? What's going on here?
Well, I do think that a couple of things. On the visual side, I'm intrigued by the continual development of DV-LED as a solution for visualization. because it gives us a bigger canvas to work with and things that with a much longer half-life.
I'm using these 720p slides. I'm not changing them. I don't care shit what you're doing.
Okay, there you go. There you go. But we can now put them anywhere on the wall. I am intrigued by MCP as a bridge for AI to the physical devices.
Damn it!
All of you take that.
High theory. I realize it's not something that we can put a pin in
context
today.
Protocol. Bolting in capability.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
If you like, I can search the web.
There she is.
So see her
There
name.
she is.
And I didn't even say her name. That's Siri.
Yeah, MCP gone wrong.
So, yeah.
I wouldn't celebrate that, Mark, too much there. It's,
No, I don't have that subscription.
Well, I think it's very appropriate that all the Duke's money's going into figuring out how to use the internet.
Richard. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, but thank you for that comment, Jamie.
But the continual improvement of the way that and acceptance of the way that we collaborate. We wouldn't have had these kinds of conversations that we do now with our teams using video. And the ability to be hybrid or high flex or whatever you want to call it, without the improvement of the technologies to make it easy and the quality is good and we can trust it for the most part, and I'm going to buy a t-shirt that says I'm on mute for every meeting I walk into because I always am when I forget to be. But I am intrigued with where AI is going, and I am intrigued with the network basis of that lets us manage it as another data stream. So I've been saying, and it's funny that she should jump in, that I think we're going to see conversational control of rooms. AI would call it contextual, that it recognizes how many people in the room and self-adjusts the systems to match the audience. But I do think that it would be nice if we could have a conversational control that would say, I want to be able to connect my classroom to Penn or to another location just by saying that.
That gets really hairy, Craig.
I know it today.
I agree. I think, and you probably have people on both sides of the aisle, but I think, as we look at AI as kind of the democratizing element that allows capability. For once, we used to have to do all this mechanical things and do all this bespoke programming and all this, wiring to do that. When we start understanding that, okay, at that application layer and in the cloud and beyond, how are we getting there and how does that transform what we're doing? I think that's a really good kind of focus of like what may be capable tomorrow, but some people probably hear it and they're like, no way in hell. I'm just trying to get through these next couple of years and, don't pull the rug out from under me right now.
And again, I think that's the perspective. And we're designing 50-year buildings with 8-year technologies.
If that.
And if that.
20 year here. We got 20 years here.
Yeah,
20.
but we have to, how do we plan for that continual evolution in a way? And that was one of your questions. I struggle with that because I understand the budgetary issues. Most campuses have a bigger budget for deferred maintenance than they do for capital projects, and no way to fund it.
Deferred just means we're not doing that.
Technology is a component of that. And so you have this, variety of kinds of spaces across any campus that are either well-equipped or poorly equipped, depending on where they are in the recycle. So I don't have a solution for that. I'm just acknowledging I'm aware of the problem.
AVSF.
And I empathize.
Yeah.
But what we try and do is plan as much ease of pathway, as opposed to buried pathway.
Is that like the philosophical approach, really? If in doubt, just focus on layer one.
It never hurts.
Sort of.
Right. Is that to get out of free? Like, I don't know what it's going to be tomorrow, but it's probably going to need some pathway.
Can
we just agree on that?
We can agree that that's the most
Yeah.
important part. It is infrastructure are the three most important parts of technology planning. But you also have to be aware, as we just had the conversation, is where are things going? Where is it likely to land? And do we have?
And who owns the service to move those things up that? Because it may not be me. It may not be Chris. It may not be Justin. Are they in the room?
It is Justin, though.
It's never me. I don't know shit. I don't know. No, we don't.
Or it might be the foundation who's got a donor.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Are they in the room right now? I don't know.
Yeah,
no.
I've been in that room where the $8 million check was handed over, and so the donor wants a high-tech building. And
was it at least a big novelty check?
It had to be a novelty check.
It was a letter. Yeah. He did hold up a letter. It was a chancellor.
It's an IOU.
I have a whole checkbook of novelty checks, and it's taken me years to get through them. I still have them. So.
But at
grocery store hates me.
3 years later, to the point we've made a couple of times in this conversation, is that the campus said, the campus AVIT folks said, we can't support that level of really cool stuff. So we're going to,
mothball it.
I was going to say we're going to dumb it down, and that's
value engineer.
We're going to simplify it to a lesser than you could have. But ultimately, the room works, and it still works today. And it wasn't, the donor wrote a letter saying, I don't think it's what I thought it might be, but if the teachers are happy and the students are graduating with degrees in physics, which is it turns out to be that department, then I'm cool with it. So,
P.S. I will not be donating next year.
It's never what the donor envisioned.
No,
it never is.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
just hope that donor is old enough that they don't worry about it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
I think that AI is going to fundamentally change how we design spaces. But I really think it's going to be because not so much of what we've been talking about, but because we're going to have to shift to a competency-based education.
It's going to change the way that education is delivered, period.
Yeah, because deliverables are no longer something you can judge a student's mastery of a subject by.
That's hunter-gatherer.
We're going to have to find something else. So it's more experiential learning spaces that we're going to have to convert a lot
Larry,
of.
what you're saying is all going to be MIG and TIG welding.
It might be.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's going to be a lab.
Like it's in 5 years, things are going to look different.
It's going to be, you've watched your lecture on TikTok last night, and now you're coming into the lab to learn how to physically do that thing. And part of that thing is, how do I prompt AI to give me the answer to...
So I don't have to watch this whole video.
You don't have to prompt it. It's going to know you're there anyway. It's going to say, hey, I noticed you're here, and let me just take this content and bring it ready for you individually.
Right.
Well, let's put a pin in things here.
We could go on forever.
This has been fantastic. We would go on for hours.
This is volume 1. Yeah.
16 hours to go. So yes, let's Craig, let's find a time. We'll schedule another visit for you, and we'll continue.
I think it is the most valuable conversations the architects and engineers and consultants who are listening to the show is that I told you, and I'm not kissing up to the hosts here, is to say when I first heard AV SuperFriends, I think 2.5 or 3 years ago, when I was working at the Section Group before they got acquired by Megalith NV5. I came back to the principals meeting and said, you all have to listen to these. These are the voices of the real people in the room who are making this stuff work after we leave, to your point, Justin.
That's yes.
Yeah, we have to live with these decisions for years.
And Craig, we still get the hate mail from that. So
that's the hardest part of being in our chairs. If you're a consultant listening to this,
I'm standing up.
Do you all just collect your checks and leave the building at 7 days after it opens and we never see you again? And it's hard as hell to keep that building running with all the bullshit that we got to deal with because no one listened to us in the first place. Nothing's labeled. We don't know what's what. Everything's not working. Somehow it got signed off on. Somebody got paid. Don't know how that happened.
Email came through that said, click here to issue payment. And they said, well, just
I told Chris at the beginning of this, I take responsibility for being all architects and all AV consultants. So I'll take that on with the same mantle. And I know, I have had great projects and I've had projects where I've screwed up too. Yeah. So, that happens. We're all human. And I'm sure that never happens to you guys, but that.
Oh, we all make
let's
mistakes.
Not be throwing stones. Come on.
I mean, we're all making mistakes here. It's just how you recover from those mistakes.
From those things
or learn and move forward in a way that is more collaborative and more communicative. Those two pieces being the key.
First attempt in learning.
All right. Thanks, Chris, for the invitation. And,
we got one more
You're not
segment
out
to
of
go.
here yet,
We're
buddy.
this one.
This has all been easy piece.
Yeah, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about why AV over IP has to be in every space. But first, to our conversation briefly here about natural language processing and AI stuff, I do want to say before we close out here, for everyone listening, okay, Google, delete all my photos. Hey, Siri, navigate home. Alexa, play country music. Now I've screwed up everyone's life there. So, yes.
I see what you were doing there.
Good thing we're on headphones.
Yeah. Well, for you guys. All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about AV over IP being the future of the future.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Delete all my photos.
This fall, your AV system just got a whole lot cozier. Introducing the independent, amalgamated, limited edition Pumpkin Spice AV Collection. Why should your coffee have all the fun? Picture this: rich amber LEDs, cinnamon-tinted cable jackets, and the unmistakable aroma of nutmeg wafting from your lavalier mic every time you clip it on. From presentation switchers that crunch like piles of fallen leaves when they change sources, to cameras that autofocus only on flannel. This season, your classrooms and meeting rooms aren't just smart, they're deliciously festive. But act fast. This pumpkin spice gear will disappear faster than decorative gourds at a farmer's market. Available through November or until the first snowfall. Pumpkin Spice AV Fall into Better Conferencing. From Independent Amalgamated. Not compatible with summer firmware. May cause sudden cravings for pie. Use in moderation, please.
I want pie now.
Pumpkin spice.
I want pie.
All right. So for our final topic here, it's a shorty. This comes from our good friends over at AV Nation, who will report on anything. And the title of this one is AV over IP in Higher Education from Hype to Higher Purpose. And it's a weird article. Link in the show notes. It's a weird article because
like an ad, though.
It's like an ad, but I can't tell from who. And it also is wrong in many, 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 many ways.
But it's right.
It's right in other ways. Craig, you mentioned earlier, we're talking about active learning rooms, and AV over IP makes perfect sense for a scenario like that. I want flexibility. I want expandability. AV over IP all day long. Why am I putting all my stuff on the network if it doesn't need to be there? Why am I attaching all my stuff to the cloud if it doesn't need to go there? Why do I need AV over IP in places where I don't need AV over IP?
No,
we need the data.
Does it give you a way in those rooms, to your description, the little huddle room of 6 people that students book to have a team-based meeting? If it's connected to your network,
they don't book those.
Whoever books it,
no one.
Does it make it easier for you to manage that space, know what's going on, how healthy is that space? Because it's there, or do you just wait for the trouble ticket?
Well, and here's the point. You're not wrong there, but none of that technically requires AV over IP. Correct. I can do all of that because all those endpoints are already on the network running VGA
connected
if I need
endpoints
to.
in a monitoring system and roll up in data and dashboards. Like that's not necessarily the AV over IP conversation.
So all of that existed well before AV over IP existed.
No, Justin,
so
last year.
We don't need an encoder decoder at every device to make that happen. We just need a network connection to the room.
Yep.
And the best part is everybody uses this technology on an island, so you can't get it anyway. It's my favorite, Craig.
You may not start there, but you'll end up there.
We're all going to end up on an island one of these days.
Let's connect all of these AV over IP devices to the switch that's in this one lockdown cabinet that nothing can reach from anywhere unless you're in the room with your local laptop. Great, thanks.
It's not the correct use case to just replace a switcher with AV over IP.
Right, but that's the way this article reads. Is like, take your HD-based chassis, which we all did 12, 15 years ago, take that, throw it away, and replace it with a giant network switch doing the exact same thing. I'm like, what do we really gain there? So it was a weirdly phrased article. I know what they're saying. I know what they were trying to get across. I can't tell who the ad is by because it wasn't called out.
Well, there was some
so I'm not sure who
from
was
the SDVOE messaging I heard recently, but I don't depend on them. There's some good points in this article for those. Definitely go check and read on that. And that question, is it being forced? I think that's a good question. Are we forcing it in places where maybe we shouldn't?
From a manufacturer standpoint, all day long, yes, in the most inappropriate places possible.
And so
Craig, to your point, huddle room that goes nowhere, that needs to be AV over IP to get. I kid you not,
That's
I've seen ones.
So stupid.
Well, wait for this, Justin. I've seen ones to go from that connection point at the table.
Just to the display.
At the huddle space to the display, and there's a freaking encoder and decoder in there.
The network switch above the ceiling on a drop tile.
It's in the IDF way out there.
Yeah, it all runs down the hall and back. It's ridiculous.
So I think generically, we can do a poll quickly around the room. Is AV over IP innovation at this point?
No, it's just a different way of doing.
It's just another transport.
Right.
Right, but I think there are folks out there that believe that even in the industry that no, this is innovative and this person. I think we're past that.
I haven't seen anything innovative in like 2.5 years.
And I feel like we're just past that conversation now. Like if you have the reason and you want to have that connected piece and you want that and you have to disperse that in a way that's more like easy and economically feasible, like it makes sense.
It's another
tool.
Well,
in the last segment, I didn't get to say when you were asking about what's the future look like. Is I want to say gigabit passive optical networking, that we're running fiber to all these devices, and
dude, I don't know.
Justin is.
I mean, it sounds like the future. Like I like the glass thing, but
I'm going retro with Cat 3.
Yeah,
that's just. Well, like I don't need the bandwidth. We don't need the bandwidth in there. We don't need. There's
today, but 50 years from now, again, 50 years.
I'm banking on compression.
We're going to run 1080p from 15 years from now, based upon the room size that we have, right? So we always go back to physics. So it's like,
well, the upside is it's cheaper than copper.
Well, that show me that on paper. That's where I mean, I can believe that down the road where it is maybe cheaper to do glass. Maybe the technical expertise, everybody, my support team and everybody on my team can terminate glass. Like that's a specialty thing still right now.
It still goes to some middleware or middle device, a mux of some sort that takes that copper, that takes the glass back to copper, because I don't have fiber input to my laptop.
Maybe you do.
I think it all goes to the wayside.
On our projector.
I don't have copper input on my laptop.
Input on our projector screen now, Craig.
I don't think we're going to be forcing AV signals around spaces. I honestly don't believe that's
not today, but tomorrow. Something to.
I think it's.
But we
it's
can
legacy.
Connect IDF clouds. We do that with glass now.
We'll be doing session join things that are going to be more software delivered.
We've got a project that they're adding 2 floors to an existing building. The weight of the additional 2 floors was more than the original geotech support, the structural support.
Ooh.
So we looked at
how much
does everything weigh in those floors, and fiber was a real solution because it's lighter than copper.
Indeed.
So when we redesigned the whole building, then it made sense, and it's also a residence hall, so the density of device locations made sense.
If you're going to build a risky one, make it the residence hall.
I think that's going to say that doesn't sound like one. I want to.
Justin's got some broken dorms. So.
Yeah.
All
right.
We don't. That's
not now.
That's a different show.
Well, let's wrap there. Craig, if people want to get in touch with you, they want to reach out, they want to hear more from you, where are they going? Where are we sending them?
They're going to go to Craig. You can go to Clark and Enersen, ENERSEN. You can find me on the Digital Experience Design tab on our website. You can find me on LinkedIn, Craig Park. You can find me at EdUp Smart Space, our podcast, and you can find me at SCUP and APA and ETC and HETMA. Talking with Joe and Chris on panel groups about the future of AV.
Very good. Well, if you want the future, it's apparently adds floors to buildings. Just keep going up. Just do them below. It's easier that way. So. All right. Well, we're going to roll out. Craig, hang out for a minute here, and we'll wrap up some stuff here after the show. But we'll see everyone next week for more nonsense, and we'll schedule another visit with Craig down the road to continue our conversation on building relationships with consultants and doing things right.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV SuperFriends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV SuperFriends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.